core of the gameplay something called reflection. Reflection leads to transformation. It causes a visual transformation of the landscape itself, but it also is linked to a transformation of the player's properties and ability to move through the world. So the last part of the mechanic is the cycle of loss and rebirth in the game. And so eventually, as one moves through this landscape, I should say when you drop into the landscape, it's at an indeterminate time where it seems to be dusk, but it could be night already. It's very difficult to tell, but there's a darkness falling. And so the things that you do in the game, the reflections that you do that transform you and transform the world, can actually elongate your period of time within the world. So you can keep the darkness from falling, but eventually darkness will fall on you, and you will fall asleep and you'll dream. And the dreams are procedurally created based on the journey that you've taken. And after you dream, you drop back into the world to begin again. And I should say that there is a win condition for this game, and there is a way out, essentially, but it's not necessarily the goal. As with the journey itself, we like to think that that's the goal. The goal is to actually have an interesting journey. And while there is a win condition, one might enjoy the game quite a bit without ever reaching it. And there's also a loss condition, but unlike most games where it's sort of binary and loss is a bad thing, most games you're alive and then you're dead, right? But this is not like life. I mean, this is ridiculous, right? I mean, loss, as we all know, we experience, is something that lasts a long time. And in fact, while it makes our lives difficult, in many ways it shapes us, and it comes back to us in sort of waves over time. So it's sort of multifaceted and an interesting thing. And we wanted our period of loss to be very long and to allow the player time to reflect as it's happening. So the controls themselves are very simple. I should mention that this game is, the target for this game is to be in galleries or museums, so that the people coming to play it may never have touched a video game controller ever before. So the controls themselves are very, very simple. You can just move, and you can look, and you can reflect. We wanted to make them simple so that any person coming up to this could use it instantaneously, but that there's much to find in the world, so if you spend time with it, you can discover that. And this is actually another screenshot from the game. It's a combination of video and 3D models, which a lot of the game is, mixing Bill's archives with the real-time rendering in the world. The creation of the world, the game world itself, has taken a very long time. And a lot of it has to do with the goal that Bill had of creating a real sense of place. He gave us to start with a basic sketch of 4 areas: the ocean, the desert, the mountains, and the forest. And this sort of vertical pole of which the sort of player enters the world. And he also gave us an archive of his prior work. And so we used that archive. We actually broke that archive down by themes and by look. And we began to build a game world out of this particular artist's sort of lifetime of visual imagery. So those who are familiar with Bill's work find a lot in going through this world. Those who are not familiar with his work, we hope still enjoy it because the imagery itself is very striking. So once we've broken down all these video pieces, we then went in and started creating 3D environments from the video pieces. And using these references as a way of creating the imagery. So there are objects that are recreated in various states. The other thing we did, and you'll notice from the shots that I've shown you, the still shots that I've shown you, is that we did not want this to look like a typical 3D computer game. We did not want it to have that sort of really realistic lighting. We didn't want it to have the sense. It just shouldn't have felt like Doom, right? Or, you know, a little more modern game, right? We just kept saying no, no, no to that. Now we want this to feel like something totally out of time, right? So what we did was we created a set of 2D post-processing effects that are take the real-time rendering and sort of obscure it. We sort of well, some people would say degrade, but Bill would call it enhancing the image. And we call it now the Furmansky effect, because our programmer Todd Furmansky spent so much time on it and really gave us a really unique look. But essentially, it combines a sort of video raster effect with creating a look of interlacing and additive blending and a grain effect to emulate an old school tube camera. Integrating this real-time video into the 3D world in a way that was seamless. So I shouldn't go any farther without saying that there's an amazing team working on this game, and so I'm up here talking about it, but Todd Furmansky, Mike Rossmassler, Kurosh Ramanujan, and of course Bill himself and Kira, his partner and his wife, also played a huge role in the development of this game. And I want to show you just a little piece of it. It's a little hard sometimes to see it. I'm wondering if there's a way to bring the lights down just a tiny bit. Is that a possibility? Thanks. So as I mentioned, when you first drop into the world, you actually So it's taught us to look around and to move. Now it teaches us the only other thing we need to know. The person is now pressing the button to reflect, and this is what happens. One lets go of the reflection button, the world returns to its initial state, and it's almost like one of those moments in life where you have a clarity of vision, and then all of a sudden it fades, but the ability to do that remains with you. So now that the person has been reflecting, they actually